Hello, guys. My name is Coach Collis Stutzer, and I run Foundry Health and Performance, where I'm focused on helping corporate professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives optimize their health and fitness so that they can perform better in their daily tasks as well as at home with their kids and family. I've met many people over the years in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s that are in poor health, and many people who are in good health. And basically, just by conversation, by how these individuals carry themselves, I was able to quickly decide the type of person I wanted to be and the type of person I wanted to help others become. Right. So that's how we got to Foundry Health and Performance. And today we're going to be talking about the physiology of a touring artist. And now, why did this topic come up? And it's because I went to my first concert ever the other day. And okay, so quick story time because I know some of you guys are going to be like, what the hell, really? So technically, it's my second concert. I got invited. There was this business guy who had a suite in Kansas City. He's like, yo, I'd love to meet you. Come to my suite. There's a show tonight. And it was like a Corn concert, but I didn't even end up getting to see Corn perform. I just checked out the suite, chatted for a little bit, and then we dipped off. So this was my first real concert. We were on the floor, so super close to the stage. It was a Burna Boy concert at Intuit Dome, and of course, I enjoyed the music. I love Burna Boy. I love his music. I've heard that he isn't the greatest performer, but he ended up being a really great performer. He was very energetic, very interactive with the crowd, running around tons, jumping tons, dancing tons, on top of having a multitude of dancers. Dancing, jumping, running, going on and off stage. And for me, as a human performance coach, one thing I'm always paying attention to is, how people move, how much they move, how they're moving, what the demands on their body are of their specific, job or the demands of their job, should I say. And as I sat there and watched Burna Boy jumping around, running around, I was like, okay, I wonder where his heart rate's at right now. Like, is he sitting in zone two, zone three, zone four, zone five? Like, you know, what energy pathways is he using? The most, if we were to track that somehow, what energy pathways will we see him utilizing the most? The aerobic pathways, like anaerobic energy system, aerobic, glycolytic, like what is he using, right? um Thinking about how's his body feeling right now. Are his quads, sore from dancing? Are his glutes sore? Like, on any of the jumps he just did he ever land wrong and tweak anything in his knee or his ankle? Like, I'm just thinking about the physical aspect. How much sleep did he get last night? If he's on tour, that means he's traveling from city to city. How fucked up is his circadian rhythm right now? Like, how was did he sleep in a shitty hotel room last night? Essentially, I'm just constantly thinking about the physiology of the individual, right? And so I thought, let's put together this little document and talk about the physiology of a touring artist, and think about music from a different perspective for once, right? So essentially, people think touring is fame, parties, in a bus with soft lighting, and it is exactly that. But also, it is stressful. You're essentially taking a human who, is evolved for just living a regular, regular life, going, to a job, existing with their family, going to sleep when the sun goes down, waking up when the sun comes up, and then you're dropping this individual into a place full of 18,000 people with constant flashing lights in the middle of the night, with smoke machines, freaking late nights, 2 a.m. room service. And then you're asking these same individuals who are staying up super late, going to the after parties after they perform, doing 60 to 90-minute sets, doing the travel from Kansas City to LA, and now on a different time zone. Shit, probably surviving on hotel food and random fast food that they can find on the way. And you're asking them to perform on command. And I don't know about on command, because obviously they get the day to think about how they're going to perform, and they practice and go through rehearsals and such. But you're expecting them to perform day in and day out at the highest level and be the best performer ever. But like, we don't often think about what's actually happening to their body, and how what the demands are on an artist's body, especially a touring artist. um so the first thing that I was thinking about is, it's essentially interval training. disguised as art. Now, it's not disguised as art because it is art. It's music, right? So they're performing, but it's interval training. If I'm watching Burna Boy, and if you watched his show, he had about I don't know. I watched about 60 minutes of his set. He might have went longer, but not only is he singing and interacting with the crowd and yelling at the crowd, but he's also jumping up and down. He's doing spins. He was doing 360s. He was sprinting from one part of the stage to the other side of the stage. He was, dancing, getting low and going high in different positions. He was, you know, shit, at one point brought his mom out to say happy birthday and picked her up, so he's over here like lifting humans off the ground. So heart rate is elevated from the walk on stage until the exact, ending, to the last bow, to the end of the performance. And, if it's a big song or it's a moment where you really need to interact with the crowd, then obviously there's, spikes in heart rate, there's spikes in energy, spikes in yelling, spikes in the amount of short sprints or jumps or backflips or spins that you're doing. On top of that, you have people that you're interacting with, the other dancers on stage. You're interacting with instruments. At one point, he's playing piano. There was another artist before him that had a guitar and was playing with the guitar. So you got, load over your shoulder that you're jumping around with and playing with your arms and holding a microphone in the same position, throwing it in the air, moving it back. Like, if you think about it, over a 60 to 90-minute time period, that there's a lot going on. You've got the aerobic system going as your base engine to keep you energized throughout. Um, you're set. You're definitely at an elevated heart rate. You may not be like max, but you're definitely at an elevated heart rate the whole time. No way that you can be sitting at resting heart rate during a performance like that. And if so, that would be something we should study. It'd be pretty badass. As you can see here, we put glycolytic system as firing and burst when Burna Boy was jumping and running and headbanging and going hard for a chorus. And one thing I put here is it's not a Peloton class, but it's more chaotic and less controlled. So at least inside of a Soul Cycle class or a Peloton class or some type of workout class, there's some type of structure. There's some type of control. There's rest periods. You know when they're coming. You know how many repetitions you're doing. But in this case, you don't know when you're going to jump. You don't know when you're going to sprint. You don't know how much you're going to sprint. You don't know how long the performance is necessarily going to go on. You don't know what's coming up next. You don't know when you're going to rest. You don't know how long you're going to rest. It's chaotic. And on top of that, I was talking to another artist at the gym who, also does big performances. And he said, you don't even realize how hard you're working while you're up there. You realize it when you get back to the hotel room and you're like, holy shit, I'm super sore. I'm super tired. I'm gassed. My throat is fucking shredded to pieces. Like, the load on the body is definitely real. And, I threw in here muscles, joints, and positions. So guitars, basses, mics, and long periods of low grade tension in the neck, traps, lower back, hips, forearms, and you know, just highly repetitive movement patterns at random over a long period of time on top of an already stressed, underslept, under recovered, overly stressed, sometimes eustressed, sometimes distressed human being, right? Um, think of it as a highly repetitive, poorly designed string program no coach would ever sign off on, yet they do it all on tour. So they do this day in, day out, sometimes for a month, sometimes for 2 months, sometimes for 3 months, sometimes international, sometimes domestic, over multitude of time zones. And, in this next session, we're going to talk a little bit about, what's going on off stage. I just talked about on stage and all the physical things that are happening on stage, plyometrics, isometrics, all types of things happening while on stage, taxing muscles, taxing tissue, taxing joints. Obviously, depends how physical or how performative a performer is. Some people just sit up there on a stool and sing the whole night. And that's a different story. But at least for Burna Boy, it's definitely more mirrors what I'm talking about right here. But essentially, this type of gig is intense, but the lifestyle is even shittier, you guys. If you have any friend that's a music artist, you kind of understand. And if you just think about your favorite artist and the type of lifestyle they live, you come to the same conclusion. So let's talk about sleep and circadian rhythm. Number one, shows are ending super late. I left the show early and it was already like 11:45, maybe midnight, and I think it went on for another 30 minutes to an hour. Mind you, they're not leaving the stadium immediately. They have to socialize and chat with people after the fact, talk with other artists and celebrities that are there. And then we're probably talking about they're going to after parties to pull in another check and or connect with people in that city that they haven't seen or haven't been able to connect with. So yeah, you got breakdown, press, fans, travel, food, travel back to the hotel, depending on if they don't have to perform in another city the next night, in which they would have to fly out again. Bedtime moves into the 2, 4, 5 a.m. territory as the default. The likelihood that they're getting to sleep and waking up at a adequate time, one, but just a consistent time, another, is very unlikely. And essentially, ladies and gentlemen, the body hates this shit. The circadian rhythm drifts out of sync with light and dark cycles. So you can never get your circadian rhythm like locked in, getting good nights of sleep, getting into a healthy sleep wake cycle. This also interrupts your cravings and psychologically, biologically, whatever words we want to use, all the shit that's going on that influences eating behaviors, eating decisions. Your sleep is short, it's choppy, it's not restorative. You're not getting enough recovery before your next show. You're like I was just talking about, hunger signals are weird. Um, yeah, tons of shit's going crazy, and the artist really doesn't get to recover. I know we as a society kind of idolize the nightlife, but when we think about the impacts on your physiology, it really is what is the word, reminiscent of shift work. So nurses working overnight, firefighters working 24-hour shifts, police officers working 12-hour overnight shifts. And shift work, based off the research, is associated with much higher rates of pretty much any chronic issue you can think of. Diabetes, depression, cardiovascular disease, obesity, anything you can think of, there's much higher rates of that happening for individuals who are shift workers. Um, so shit crazy. Um, I'm just kind of like scrolling through some of my notes here to see if there's anything else I wanted to cover, but essentially, shit is crazy. Oh yeah, another thing. I mean, I don't think this is talked about a lot just because it's not popular, but your immune system. Think about being in a stadium with 18,000 people. You're under recovered, underslept, physically fatigued, sore. Nutrition probably hasn't been the greatest. May or may not be hydrated adequately. For a lot of artists, may be on drugs or drunk. Um, and we're talking day in and day out for a multitude of weeks. So, and when you leave there, you're probably in a back room, the artist room, or a hotel room full of people breathing on each other who just were around thousands of other people in the crowd as well. Or we're going to nightclubs after that. You're coming off of travel, so airports, airplanes, recycled air, new cities, new diseases, new you just everywhere. And then again, to emphasize even more, nutrition and sleep are inconsistent at best. So your immune function is likely completely compromised and suppressed. And that's why we always hear people say everyone got sick on tour. But guess what? Canceling shows cost money, reputation, momentum. So a lot of artists end up deciding to perform while sick, which just digs the hole even deeper. Okay. And we didn't even talk about the travel tax on the body from like a structural standpoint. So hours in buses, vans, planes, in flexed cramped positions, you poor ergonomics and bad seats on airplanes, sitting in weird angles on your tour bus, um, sitting in the back of a sprinter van cramped up with 34 women, carrying gear, bags, random crap through airports and venues, and you end up with exactly what a lot of people are dealing with: locked hip flexors, super stiff hip flexors, a non-mobile T-spine, lower back and neck, always kind of slightly irritated. Tendons and tissues in your ankles and knees and lower back are, taking micro hits all throughout your performance, and you're not really getting structured strength work to back it up. Except if you're an artist who decides to prioritize your health and fitness, strength training, your nutrition, your sleep, and you bring somebody on board to support that, and support you and manage your wellness during tour. But unfortunately, a lot of artists aren't doing that. I put in here cognitive load and social pressure. That's just more external distress on the body that, need be get added in. And then substances as gasoline on the fire, just a lot of demands on the body and not a lot of preparation for those demands. So I just wanted to say, if you're an artist and you watch this, or if you're a coach and you care about or work with touring artists, then shout out to you. But if you're treating your touring artist like a casual gym client, you've already lost, because their life is very chaotic, and you need to take everything I just said into consideration. And if you don't have a trainer on tour, or you're an artist who's slowly growing, slowly blowing up right now, take into consideration the importance of structural resilience, being extremely strong and capable, making sure you're taking into consideration sleep, and getting enough recovery. And at the very least, you got to give attention to your nutrition and hydration. If everything else is lacking, can we please just stay locked in on quality nutrition? More or less, we really just need to find our base. We need to find the floor across nutrition, exercise, sleep, recovery, stress, and try to at least achieve or hit our, floor goal, to maintain general health. But if I was a personal trainer for Burna Boy, we'd focus on making sure he has a solid aerobic base so that he can sustain long sets and recover between them. Make sure tissue tolerance is there, so tons of strength training, uh, under the consideration of everything we just said. But isometrics, body weight movement, body weight training, making sure spine, hips, shoulders, wrists, are all feeling good and mobilized as much as we can. Anytime we have an opportunity to move, we're going to move. And what I mean by that is, instead of staying seated on the tour bus, we're going to find a little moment to stretch. If we're at the airport, we're going to make sure we get a little mobilization session in. And I know, as I think about this, because I haven't done this before, it's all a theory. An artist may want to be like, yeah, fuck you, I'm about to take a nap. And that's perfectly fine too, because at the end of the day, that might be what they need. Stress and sleep strategies are actually, you know, super important. And when someone finds that something compatible with their lifestyle that helps them recover, that's, far more important. But nonetheless, uh being an artist, especially a touring artist, is really taxing. It's crazy. And I think we should show more respect to the physical capabilities of individuals who perform, um, utilizing, all their limbs, like Burna Boy, traveling the world. It's a lot of hard work. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I encourage you to kind of think about the physiology of a touring artist. And maybe if you're a personal trainer out there, or an artist out there, you can provide, that works with an artist or touring artist, you can provide a little bit more context to what it's like in real life and how to handle it. But this is just me paying respects to the coaches who are taking care of touring artists, and me paying respect to the touring artists for how much hard work goes into their craft. So thank you for all that. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, found it interesting, share it with a friend. I know it's kind of a long one, and